Do you use kinetic text fly-ins like this to increase the engagement of your list and tip style videos? You can see these in action with a big YouTuber like Evan Carmichael, one of my favorite motivational YouTubers. Conventional wisdom thinks that you need to buy some fancy presets to edit or to be a Superman editor to create these. Well, that's just a pile of bunk. In this video, I'm going to show you how to not only make cool fly-ins, but also how to create your own fly-in theme right inside Camtasia from scratch. Let's dive in. Hey, it's Gord here. Welcome. If it's your first time here and it's your passion to make great videos, become a ninja at video editing, and learn more tips on how to succeed with video and marketing on YouTube, then make sure you hit the subscribe button and click the bell notification icon so that you don't miss a thing. Now we're inside Camtasia. The first step in creating your kinetic text fly-in effects theme is to determine and create the asset elements you want to use. In this example, I want to create 3 fly-ins: a text display fly-in, then next I want to create a list or tip style fly-in, and finally an overlay style fly-in. To create these fly-ins, you need to determine the logo integration if you're using branding in there, your colors, and the fly-in shapes. So as you can see here, I have my logo here, and my colors are the blue and the white and the black. I'm also using a gray color to kind of mute the text so that only the most current bullet point is emphasized. And I've decided to use yellow for further emphasis, like here in the title, Fly-in Theme Tips, and for the number 3 in the list. As for the fly-in shapes, I've created a few shapes outside of Camtasia. For example, I created both this rectangle with the white piping on the side, as you can see, for accent, as well as this piece, which is for the overlay, which is, a little bit bigger than a rectangle, but it's angled on this side with a white angled piping. These are, in essence, custom callouts because I made them externally, and you just need to add them into your media bin and they're there accessible for you. And the reason why I created them outside of Camtasia was because I wanted to have like PNG files and the unit be integrated and not have to deal with the separate elements to make this compound piece. In this case, I would have needed a rectangular shape for the white piping and the blue. And by just having it all integrated, likewise with this piece, I didn't have to worry about, dealing with the constituent parts. For the text display fly-in, which is this here, I did use Camtasia and for the shape. So for example, you can see here we have the rectangle shape, we have the text, there's the rectangle shape, and there's our piping. So all those pieces are separate and independent. And the reason why for the text display fly-in that I used those pieces inside Camtasia and not create an external callout was because just in case I wanted to do something like extend the length because I had more text or less text, or I wanted to change the height and size of the piping, I had that flexibility to do that. So that's why the text display fly-in is done a little differently than we have the callouts, the custom callouts. And the custom callouts, one other cool thing is that they were done with a 1080p height. And that's the vertical height here for both of them. As you can see, they're pretty much the same size. And the reason why they were done that way is because, as you can see here in our project settings, we have a wide 1920 by 1080 vertical. So a widescreen format for our output. So if I were to drag this fly-in in, you can see how it just nicely fits on top. And there's nothing to do. And again, these were done outside because I have no intention to do anything but adjust their scaling through proportional sizing. The next step in the process to create your kinetic text fly-in effects theme is to create the fly-in custom animations. As you can see here, step 2, we had a nice fly-in from the bottom there, and here we have a slide-in from the left for the tips panel, and likewise a fly-in from the left for the overlay. For the display text fly-in, you can see we had something nicely come up from the bottom, and that was done through the use of a behavior. If we had nothing there and just put the assets on the timeline, look at what we would get. It would just come in straight static and then disappear similarly. But we've added the, as you can see here, the reveal behavior, and that reveal behavior is applied to all the elements in here, and we had our two rectangular shapes. One is for the blue rectangle, and one is for the white piping. And then we have our logo and the text. So they all have the reveal, but we've adapted the reveal, and I'm going to show you here. So here we have the text display without anything. Now let's apply the reveal to a copy here and see what would happen if we just added that with nothing else added. And if you can see here now the default behavior would be coming from the side and doing all kinds of other fancy stuff with the text. Of course, you can do whatever you want with the animation, but I say that, you know, simplicity and consistency is important. So that default reveal I've adapted, and you can see here now when we look in here, because the reveal property's on there, all of these items have been changed. So we're using an object. So by the way, it's the same across all of these. So we just need to look at any single one of them. So the type is object as opposed to text. So the animation is applying across the board. It's going to be smooth, and it's coming from the bottom direction. So as you can see, as we move through this little step by step, you're going to see it comes up from the bottom. Everything's coming from the bottom all together in unison. And then during, we have none, so that the text display stays on, and then it gradually fades out. As you can see in the out here, we have a fade out, and by seeing these arrows here, that means the behaviors have all been to change from the default in the reveal to be fade out, and again, object and linear, and so it just goes nice and fades out clean. And the reason why I added a transition here, which is a transition fade, as you can see, is so that the logo fades out in similar speed as the rest of the unit. If I didn't have that transition there, the logo would be a little slower in fading out. Okay. Now let's look at the custom animations for the tips panel, fly-in, and the overlay. So I'm going to start off by playing. First, see, we have our panel sitting here on the left. I'm going to play a little bit. See, the panel comes in and I slide it over. So a lot just happened in that short period of time. Now let's just look at our stack of assets on the tracks here. On the bottom, you have the motion background. Then you have me with my talking head. And then we have the panel fly-in for the tips. And then we have the text there. And then we're going to go back and see how this all comes together. So as you can see, there's a number of these custom animations that are showing, and they're all the same. And what they're doing is bringing things from off-screen to on-screen. So if we go to the beginning of this first animation for the panel, you can see we start with the panel here, and the end position, the end keyframe, has the panel on screen. But you noticed when I clicked that, if I go back, you'll see at the same time, it also slid me over on the screen, so that I moved them together. So that's why you see these two animations, one for me and one for the panel, and they're the same. So this was quite easy to do. You just need to, at the beginning position, we put the panel on, and we did that by grabbing the panel from the media bin, and we just put it on and positioned it off screen, slightly off screen, because we're going to slide it in. All right, and then the second part was to position the panel as where we wanted it to be, where to end, and likewise myself. And we did the same work up top for the logo. I was trying to get up there, and the text. So if we look here, if I go at the top, you see there's the text, my name, and there's the logo. And they're both coming from off screen as well. So if we play that, we see everything came in nicely together. So the next part of the animation, as you saw, was the fade in of all the nice text. So if we take a look at many of the the text items here, you'll see we have the fade behavior, and you're going to see that it's used consistently throughout. Whoops, I'm trying to struggle with the scroll up and down. It's used throughout, and let's just see how the behavior looks on the top right here. For in, you can see everything's the default, which is fade in, text left to right, and linear. And you got that feeling right here when we see how it fades in nicely. And then we're going to continue playing. So remember, that's now applied to all of the text items that come in. And then the next thing we visibly see on screen is our overlay slid in. Now, if we scroll up, we can see very similarly, we have our overlay. It's off screen. And again, it would have been just brought in like that, just off screen before it's to slide in. And then we added, just like before, custom animations, which is as simple as just dragging it on screen and then, sizing the begin keyframe and the end keyframe for the length of time or duration we want, and the end keyframe reflecting the position. So if you look here, the overlay is positioned just beyond, if you notice, just beyond where the panel is underneath. Okay, and that was the role of our intention, actually, of bringing the panel into there. And so you see it's very similar to what we had in bringing on the panel that was underneath it. But now, when we get to this later stage, we added another custom animation, but this one was actually a restore animation. And all you have to do for that, again, is drag it on and adjust the sizes for the begin and end keyframe. And the end keyframe for a restore is automatically to move it back to where it last was. So we don't have to do much, but just actually put this animation on each of the assets that are affected. So the panel, fly-in, and the text. So if we play that nice confined part for you to see, boom, it was that simple. The remaining part has the panel underneath still there, and eventually we just let it drop off. Boom. And as it dropped off, you saw my body slid to the left. So we wanted to restore my physical position back to where I was without the panels. And that's exactly what we did. We added another restore animation. Again, it's just this animation right here. We would have dropped it on the line, and we would have moved my body over slightly. So the end position would have just had me move there. If I wanted the end position to be further, I could have just moved it further like that. You can see, watch, it would slide over that much more, but that's not what we want. And finally, step number 3, or tip number 3, is to be creative with your fly-in uses. Here it is nicely showing on our panel. Be creative with your fly-in uses. So make deeper connections with your community. This is a great opportunity. By having these fly-in panels, you can do all sorts of cool things. Different kinds of calls to action. For example, here we have a panel that just came in where I'm saying thank you to the community for everybody that's enjoyed my videos and watched on my channel. And I tell them that I have a free guide and that there's a link in the description below. So what a great use for the panel as you're working through your video, and in a point somewhere through it, you can, share these call to actions or give them towards the end of your video. And there's another example coming up, which is something that you do in end cards, but you can also do it throughout your video if the case allows for it, and that is to tell people and remind them of certain playlists. So in this case, I'm showing you that I have my Kinetic text videos that are out there, and why not go check those out, when you're finished with the video. So as you can see, by using these panels, there's plenty of uses that you could use and apply them to.
Wow! Using kinetic text fly-ins to increase engagement are not that difficult to create, and the use of fly-ins also helps you to stack more information in. And let's not forget that using these fly-in techniques helps to add a little more professional look to the quality of your videos. For more great tips on kinetic text techniques with Camtasia, be sure to click on the playlist featured on the screen now. See you in another video soon.